Hey, what's good, people? Jason DeBeers and Rob McLean. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Beach Volleyball National Events. Come play with us. Also brought to you by Endless Summer Beach Volleyball. If you're around for the summer, if you're lucky enough where AAUs are still happening and you need to train with someone good, we got the best coaches in the countries, in the world, certainly in the country. A family that plays together, stays together. It is also brought to you by NY Varsity Sports. Watching me, watching you. Episode number 17 starts right now. What's good, Rob? We're back. And we're back just like last week, just like the week before that, and just like the week before that, because we got to give the people. I give the people what they want. Tin it. Rob McLean. Keep it McLean. What's good, baby?
How's it going, man?
All right, I'm gonna pump up your volume because I can't be talking over you this week. You're a brother that's gonna have a lot to say, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna cover a lot of stuff. We're gonna cover the Mizuno partnership with the volleyball sports performance. That's our wheelhouse, so it's volleyball. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and the controversy surrounding that. As native New Yorkers, we're going to label off our top favorite New York Giants. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, but really, if you're in the city, you know your Giants and you know your Jets, Yanks, Knicks, and Mets. So, but before we get to that, let's start with topic number one. Rob, are we ready?
We ready?
Okay. So The Last Dance. Episodes 9 and 10 just finished. I watched all 10 episodes. Did you get to watch all 10?
I watched some of them. I haven't watched all of them yet, but
Okay.
I'm still working.
Yeah, so listen, I could do this whole setup question, but I'm just going to ask straight out. What was something out of The Last Dance, the episodes that you watched, um, whether it's Michael Jordan or not, that you got out of it the most? You left with what kind of take?
Man, it's just crazy. Like, and I'll put it down like this because I was talking to I think it was my sister earlier about this. Um, I think it just reinforces again, and I think this is why he did the whole thing in the beginning because they said he started this whole documentary when Jordan had beaten the record breaking Bulls in the 7 game series. You know what I'm saying. So when LeBron won that championship, Michael went out and started to do this documentary. But I think what this shows and what I've taken from it mostly is that it reignites how incredibly amazing he was. And this is how amazing he was. He created the idea of a greatest of all time player. There was a Mount Rushmore before there was Michael. But when there was Michael, it was just, well, who's the greatest? Because that means you just got to compete against the greatest because there's only one guy. That's how great he was. He put into a conversation greatest of all time. And I want to say this because it was the same thing with Pele and football,
Yep,
right? It
no
was
doubt.
so big and powerful. It was like, uh, it was something like internationally transcending, right? It was like Ali, even though he's from the States, even though Pele is from Brazil, it was so widespread that it was like he was a person of the world, right?
Yeah,
That's
transcended
Jordan.
internationally. Yep.
Exactly. It is not like he was Team USA. It was the Dream Team. You know what I mean? It's just like it's just so much more. Uh, and that's what I think kind of struck me the most is just like how just from what he did on the court, like he didn't even try to make that big of an impact in the world, in the political world at that time, or in industry even. Like it just kind of came to him, and then he kind of flourished with it. But he didn't like drive for it like there is today. But man, it's crazy that like what he did on the court really fueled what he could be as a person. I think that's just again you see that again because if you're away from it, you don't get to see it all the time. You know what I mean? It's very crazy, very crazy.
I just want to make sure this works before I give my answer. How you doing, Rob?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ha ha ha.
There we go.
To quote a Big Daddy Kane song, "Hey yo, the microphone's mine." That was a Daddy Kane song when he had all of it. He had his dancers, he had the DJ, he had his little brother, Little Daddy Shane on it. It's called "The Microphone's Mine," and now, Rob, the microphone's mine. What did I get out of this whole thing in The Last Dance? Like I said last week, I can't be your Superman. I can't be your Superman. Can't be your Superman. Your Superman. Your Superman. Michael Jordan. This whole be like Mike thing, it gets lost. The message of being like Mike. People kind of have their own definition of that. My definition, based on this documentary, being like Mike, is to take something that you like to do and you go for it. You be the absolute best, hands down. You take care of controllables. You can't say you're better than Kareem or whatever because you're not playing against him. You can't say you're better than Russell because that's a different timeline. All Michael Jordan could do was take care of the people that he thinks might be compared better than him. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Clyde Drexler, Karl Malone, Stockton. All of these people he played in the finals. All of these people that he beat in the finals was 6 MVPs. And the road to the finals, Rob, nobody said it was easy. You got Detroit bullying people up and down. And then there's a New York Knicks. That man went through everything shy of being nailed to a cross just to get to the finals. So this whole be like Mike was an on the court thing. But common denominator, Rob, what I got from this is Michael showed you that he's not perfect, which made me love him more. His imperfections stand out, okay? That man gambled with tons of freaking money, which offends some people. I don't give a damn about which it's your money or whatever. But that's not something where people want to be like Mike. You don't want to spend all your money and lose it. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to like spend it and not care about the money you lose when kids are starving somewhere or whatever. So if your image of being like Mike was he disappointed you, guess what? He disappointed you because you didn't understand. This man can't be a Superman. He had so many layers, Rob. He was kind-hearted. And he was a bully at the same time. Not a bully with a black heart that was insecure about his own, superiority. No, a bully where like tough love, that means necessary. Like this is gonna toughen you up, or you're not gonna be in the court, and we're not gonna have, and you're not gonna win with me. Birelson, he punched Steve Kerr in the face. How is this man anyone's idol when you punch someone in the face on practice? Punching down, Rob, punching down. Okay, Xavier McDaniel was nose to nose to him. Jordan had a chance to take a shot at that guy. Did he hit Xavier McDaniel? No. Why? Because he would have got his meat lumped, okay? But it's one of those
smart
things.
Man.
Don't touch the merchandise. Don't touch the merchandise. So
once again, Jordan wins.
Yeah. So listen, he was kind-hearted. He was a bully. He was generous. He was also cheap. He was courteous. And he was rude. And all of these things were ignored because that man won championships. Can you imagine how people with different light people would look at Terrell Owens if he actually won at least 1 or 2 rings? They called him a locker room cancer. He was a locker room motivator without the rings. Jordan wanted to do it this way, heavily believed that it would result in championships, and when it came time, when push came to shove, when it came time to put up and shut up, Michael Jordan, his airness, we want to be like Mike, delivered. And that's what I got from this. Just amazing. He can't be your Superman. But if you want to be like that, Mike, whatever your wheelhouse is, Rob, you're an elite athlete. You're a volleyball player. On that volleyball court, dude, you want to be like Mike.
That's the way it is, man.
All right? Yeah, me, I'm a coach. I'm like Mike. I'm retired like Mike. Just like Bad Boys. You're going to be retired like him. Remember that? He says, everybody want to be like Mike. All right, so, wow. I think we both crushed that, man. You're straight and simple. Me, I got to be all over the place before I bring it back. Rob, my brother, from another mother, I always bring it back. Question number 2. On this day, 1998, which is actually yesterday, which is Monday, Wink. Michael Jordan won the MVP for the 5th time in his career. The honor tied him with Bill Russell for second most for MVPs, trailing only Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. On his way to rewriting history, he may have played spoiler for a few players who could have been crowned champion in his absence. So, Rob, the question is, which NBA Hall of Famer do you think wins a ring if Jordan was not in the league three-peating twice? Should I go first? Glad
Yeah,
you
go ahead,
asked,
man.
Rob. Thank you. I will go first. My pick, the one guy I thought who could have won one ring while he was gone, was Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley came
That's a
into the
good one.
league like an animal. The man was 6'4" as a power forward, which is a testament to not only this man's competitiveness, but his big bootiness. That man took the booty and just moved big skinny guys out of the way who think they got muscle. And he, for a long time, he did that with the Sixers. He revitalized his career with the Phoenix Suns. He had Dan Marley, he had Kevin Johnson, pretty good coaching, and man, did he have an opportunity. And it's my opinion, in 1993, when the Knicks when the Knicks lost to the Chicago Bulls 4-2 and went on to win that championship. If the Knicks win that, I strongly believe Charles Barkley and the Phoenix Suns beat the Knicks. And I think Charles Barkley gets his finals MVP. And he solidifies himself higher in the dockets of the Hall of Fame with at least a ring.
Yeah, I hear that.
Who do you
For
got?
me, it's got to be I don't really know who to choose. I forget if they had won one championship or not, but I thought a very common answer was Karl Malone, because I believe that he kept Karl and John Stockton from winning a championship all those years together, and I thought just that combination together.
It's a
That's
good
just
pick.
one of the create.
It's a good
That's
pick,
one of the
Rob.
one that most people talk about. But I also feel like Reggie Miller. Did he not win a? He didn't win a ring though. I think
No.
that's
I
one of
was so
them, like
sad.
all time. And people say like the further away Reggie Miller gets from playing the game, people start to realize how great he really was. Because
He was our Steph Curry.
yeah, but he had the length and he had the tenacity to play a type of defense. It wasn't like he was a lockdown defender, but he was like Tayshaun Prince long, and he could just be disruptive. He was a disruptive defender, and he was he just made buckets. He was a scorer. He wasn't even just a only 3-point shooter. He was a great 3-point shooter, but he was a great scorer. Got to the bucket, got to the line, got to the 2-point line. Like, man, he was deadly, man. So I think that would be my number one. Karl
That
Malone,
is a
my number two.
very, very good pick, too. Karl Malone and Stockton? Or Karl
Yeah,
Malone?
but I like Barkley, man. I think Barkley, man, like he was on so many teams that were right there, but they just were
Dude was
not
an
there.
animal, too, man.
Yeah.
Dude was
Oh
can
man,
go coast to coast, could rebound, and then off his dribble, just
the round
boom,
bound, the rebound.
and these little single person drives with dunks, man. And just pushing people out of the way. Dated, had a white wife, didn't give a damn what people thought back then. What's the matter? You don't like your black sisters? Take a look. Tell me what you think. Love me some Charles Barkley. Karl Malone did join up with the Lakers to try to get a ring, and but lost in 2004 to the Detroit Pistons. That was one of Larry Brown's best coached. I mean, and this is saying a lot because Larry Brown's a real coach. Popovich looks up to him, and that was some of the best work, right? Larry Brown did. He had bunch of journeymen on that team, and
Yes, he
and
did.
beat them 4-1, and they only won one game because Kobe shot a three to bring it into OT and won one. So, I love me some Karl Malone. Let's also highlight Clyde Drexler, but I think he joined the Rockets and won with them in '95, I believe. Let's
Okay.
let's highlight Sean Kemp and Gary Payton. I
Ooh
thought
man.
two very deserving guys. People forget they won 60 games that year. The year that the Bulls won 72 games, the Sonics won 60 games, dude. That's a team
Yeah.
that quite possibly could have won a ring. But let's not forget about our boy Reggie Miller.
I
And
know,
Reggie
man. He
Miller,
was a killer, man. And
yes.
he got killed by his sister before any. Like that is the funniest story ever.
Woo!
Oh
Sister
my
used to
goodness.
make him go cry, right?
Cheryl Miller.
Yes.
She still says that he's the second best in the family. She scored 100 points in high school.
He said
100
that.
points.
I think he said that too.
Yeah, because
He,
she just beats him up on the court. She beats him
dude,
still.
yes, yeah.
So it's just kind of crazy because yeah, that what a talented family.
That's gonna
What a
happen with me
talented
and my
family.
girl in beach volleyball too, man. She right there. I'm gonna get beat all the time. I'm gonna get beat up by this skinny girl with abs. You
Oh,
watch,
don't let
Rob.
it happen now. Don't let it happen.
It might kill me to win. I don't know if I'm ready to die. Maybe I just live and give her that L. Take that,
Yeah,
give
it's not a
her
bad L to
take that.
take.
No, it ain't. No, it ain't. I like that. But the thing, before we leave to the next topic, some about Reggie Miller. He also reminds us that the Bulls' double three-peat was not a dominant one. 7 games. Reggie Miller took him to 7 games. Everybody talks about 6 games. Oh, Michael 6-0 and all these finals appearances. Every time he went to a finals, he won. But listen, you have X
And
amount of
never
years.
took it to the seventh.
Yes, and never took it to the
But
seventh.
got took to the seventh within the playoffs, and that's what you're
Yes,
talking about.
and
Is
that's what
that
I'm
the
talking
road
about.
to the finals was difficult. It wasn't like a first round, 2016 Detroit Pistons,
Yes,
or like
and it's not.
second round,
Yeah,
or the East is not tough until the third game,
and
or the
it's not
third
like and
series.
it's not like the East is more talented than the West. They were just top heavy, man. Every time Jordan's in the playoffs, he's like, "All right, show me the video in Detroit. Show me the video in New York. Show me the video in Indiana." These, and then Orlando when Shaq was with Orlando and Penny Hardaway, they came up too. But that was no easy path to the finals. And man, you know who thanks Jordan for disappearing for 2 years? Hakeem Olajuwon.
Right.
but mate,
Somehow that team just got ridiculously unbeatable.
if the
Oh,
Knicks
Jordan's
listen
not
as
there.
Knicks fans, if they were gonna win 194 was it. It was game 6. It was John Stark's game 6. He could have dished to Ewing, and Ewing could have did a little finger roll to tie the game, or you go for it all. You go for the three and you win it all. He went for the three and he missed. And then game 7, he proceeded to miss 17 of 18 3-pointers. And that's the curse, Rob. It's the only thing anyone's ever going to remember. And that's a shame because that was a really good team, man. That was a really good team as well.
Yeah.
All right, Rob, you chew on that literally and figuratively, okay? While I roll off the next question. And I see you back there, Miranda. Question number 3. Phil Jackson, the Zen master. Every time this man shows up to a franchise, it seems like immediate success follows. So, my question is, and this one you get to go first. Out of the Bulls, double three-peat, does Phil Jackson win any of those rings with the Bulls without Jordan?
Like saying if Jordan got hurt, let's say, or are you saying like he got traded?
Let's say let's say Jordan retires after 93 and stays retired. That's one scenario. My
Okay.
second scenario is let's say after they beat the Lakers in 91. No, not after. Let's say Jordan got hurt before that finals with the
Right.
Magic and the Lakers. Does Phil win a ring any of those 6 times without Jordan?
You know, honestly, I feel like yes. Do they win any of the rings? Yes. Do they win all the rings? Obviously not. But you know, bearing the question, would they win a ring without Jordan? Right. Let's just keep it like that, simple. Um,
There it is. Okay, I like that.
absolutely. Because, like people say, Scottie Pippen is a top 10 player. Dennis Rodman, to me, is like a top 20 player of all time. But you have to put pieces around that. And I think that they had enough pieces. I think later on, the second half, they would have had a lot better of a chance because there was a lot more established veterans there. They had a better system, and they had some younger pieces as well. So I think Jordan was a little bit more leaned upon in the earlier part of it. But um, yeah, no, I feel like they'd at least win one and maybe two in the second of the three in the three-P. But not that it would be easy. I think it would be a struggle. I think Pippen would have to, become a different player, and toughen up and really be that number one. It's difficult to say, but I think they definitely had the talent. And, Phil Jackson's a phenomenal coach. And to have Jordan to buy into that triangle type of system, I think it just puts everybody in a type of mindset that this is what we're doing. It's not questioning it. It's just a system we're playing. It's successful. We do it. And I think to take Jordan out of that equation and to let them just run an offense, not an offense through a superstar, I think that could actually make them a little better. So we'll see. And Dennis Rodman, when one of their big guy goes out, he kind of puts it on himself to step up and put the focus on him, so he becomes a better player, which is, I don't even know how that's possible. So yes, I think so. I don't even know how they landed Dennis Rodman. That's so crazy, man. That's seriously one of my favorite players of all time. All
Yeah,
time.
man. Yeah, man. Before I answer that about Dennis Rodman, I like Dennis Rodman because he could score if he wanted to, but he was asked to do something for the sake of the team. And usually, people that do something for the sake of the team, when it's time to get their contract, a time to get their money, the same people that are like, you got to take one for the team, are the same people like, well, look at your numbers, you know? So Rodman did what he did on the court and off the court to get his notoriety and to get his name out there and to get his fame. And at the same time, as controversial as he was, when it was time to get on the court and play, he always performed. He never disappointed. So I'm glad that he found a way to market himself and get his money that way and score like no points and get like 19 rebounds. So because we know the championship teams, they need those too. They need those too, right? Like if you
Mm-hmm.
remember before Robin came along, it was Horace Grant. When the Rockets won, it was Otis Thorpe. So every championship team had kind of an Iron Man like that. Rasheed Wallace for not Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace for Detroit when him and Rasheed won in 2004. So every team has that kind of that person that does the dirty work that doesn't show up on the stat book. All
Yep.
right. So for Phil Jackson, I asked a friend of mine. I said, how many championship rings do you think Phil has? And my friend's like, I don't need to think. I know he has 11 rings, right? And I did the Donald Trump thing. I said, wrong, wrong, wrong. Phil Jackson to my knowledge, has 13 rings.
I was gonna say 14.
He won. People forget he won
As an
twice
assistant, right?
as a player.
Oh, that is true.
1970 and 1973, he won 2 rings with the New York Knicks. 1970 champs and 1973 champs. For us fans who remember the last time the Knicks played, yes, Phil was your man back then, and guess what? Phil on the face of basketball is still to this day your man right now. Phil, could he have beaten Magic Johnson and the Lakers with Scottie Pippen and without Jordan? I think so, because I think that because Jordan got MVP, it was Scottie Pippen that played 3 positions on defense and held Magic Johnson to a standstill, even though Johnson did scorch him for 43 points on one of those. You win 4 games to 1 or 4 games to 2. Without Jordan, you're probably winning 4 games to 3 or 4 games to 2, okay? I think they have a shot at beating the Trailblazers. I don't think they beat the Knicks without Jordan in 93. So I don't even think they get to the finals without Jordan in 93. 94, 95. 95, even with Jordan, they didn't make it because the Orlando Magic eliminated them. 96, I think maybe they beat the Sonics, maybe they lose. To answer your question, I co-signed with you. Is he winning 6 rings without Jordan? Absolutely not. Is he winning at least 1? Absolutely. And the question is the gray area between 1 and 6. I would say 1 to 2 rings. And I say yes. Because everywhere that man goes, success follows. And
Right.
everybody's like, oh, Shaq and Kobe didn't need Phil. And I'm like, you know what? Shaq and Kobe had a coach before Phil. Didn't win with him. Jordan
True.
had a coach before Phil, Doug Collins, who gave Jordan the ball. And they were close,
I mean,
but they didn't win.
imagine you have a stop and pop game with Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen in a triangle offense. I mean, that's gross.
It's ridiculous.
Like it's ridiculous.
Man,
That's ridiculous.
do we even? I guess we stop there.
Yeah.
I guess we stop there, dude. Good, we're doing good, man. Okay, topic number 3. The Chicago Bulls. We're gonna finish with Last Dance. Had a 72-10 record, which was the best win-loss record in the history of the NBA at the time. That has since gotten broken with 73 wins by the Golden State Warriors before Kevin Durant came along. So now the question is, Kevin Durant and the 2018 or 2019 team, with the Golden State Warriors. That's their prime. The Chicago Bulls, 72 wins. They replaced Horace Grant with a Dennis Rodman. They replaced Paxson with a Steve Kerr. All of these we consider upgrades. A much more mature Scottie Pippen. Ain't got to worry about no migraines. The question is, who wins between the 1996 Bulls and the 2018 Warriors?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, man, to be honest, I think it's just like a who wins from that generation and who wins in this generation. And all
Freaking hate
honesty,
you.
yeah. And in
Go
all
ahead,
honesty,
Eminem.
it just happens to be, like the difference in reffing. Honestly, I think it would be a fair game if they played back then, and then if the Bulls played now, because neither of them know how to play in each other's era. So I think with the advantages of their era, like the Bulls being able to, be a little bit more touchy because that was their era, but they probably are not going to be ready for, 30 footers from Steph Curry. I don't see the Bulls putting up 130 points for 7 games in a series. That's always been Golden State's ticket. It's not been they've been a great defensive team as well, and they
Highly
became a
underrated
great
Steph
defensive
Curry.
team through their offense. The scare of another team having to really defend hard, but 130 points a game. I mean, the Bulls were not doing 130 points a game every series, every single series. You know what I mean? So maybe they locked them down for, a couple games, but it's the same thing LeBron had to go through. Like, I don't know. So I think it's really close, but then again, I still have to go with the Bulls because they are the greatest franchise greatest franchise in the toughest period, toughest testing time in NBA history. Because you can go Boston Celtics with Bill Russell and the 15 championships. I think it was just a different time. Just like Wilt Chamberlain's numbers against the period of that time. Like, Wilt would have been still one of the best of all time. I think he would have been better even in this time because he would have been able to prove himself against somebody his size. But yeah, Jordan, best franchise in the toughest time. Absolutely the greatest.
It's a tough matchup for me because in order to do this timeline thing where we do a time warp and put them together, Steve Kerr would have to coach against himself. Steve Kerr, the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, would have to be like, I know that guy. We got him locked down. So first of all, you got to bench Steve Kerr. All right, Steve Kerr just got to stay on the bench because we can't have that. I would normally do a timeline thing. I would say in this day and age where you can get called for a foul, if I ran by you too fast, the wind would make the ref blow the whistle. Back then, let's start with the easy part. In the 90s, it's the Bulls, 4-2, and I think Golden State only gets one game because Durant catches fire and it's hard to shoot. It's hard to defend against someone who's shooting that far at the height at a 6'11" height with a 7'6" wingspan. All right, Rodman's one of the best ground game rebounders and defenders, man. But you got to have someone to put a hand up on him. But with that being said, there is a lot of physicality they can get away with when he doesn't have the ball. They can stick to him like glue and not get called for a foul. Steph Curry, I know he's been in the weight room a little bit, but he would have gotten that time era, he would have gotten his, but he would have gotten roughed up. They're not going to give him shots from the half court. As soon as the ball's in his hand, you're going to have Scottie Pippen, a big defender on him. You're going to have people rotating in and out, just defending him and just defending Durant. Draymond Green and Dennis Rodman, they're going to have a huge hug fest by the time the third game comes. And when I say hug fest, they're going to be on the floor rolling around, punching each other. So they're both going to eliminate each other. So now the physical part of Golden State's game is gone because Draymond Green ain't going to last that 7-game series without biting the bait against Dennis Rodman. So the Bulls win 4-2. Now, in this day and age, I initially, before I got on the show, I'm like, Golden State will probably win that 4-3. Because at the end of the day, Klay Thompson could put up 41. This guy could put up whatever. There's just so many people. Iggy, Durant. That's just a really deep team. I mean, we even talk about the bench, right? So, normally I said 4-3, but my mind races back to when they were down. They were up 3-1 on the Cavaliers. who had Kevin Love, who was playing hurt. Kyrie Irving hides his injuries really well. That was my Finals MVP. I didn't think it was LeBron.
Yeah,
Watching the
no, absolutely
Cavaliers
not.
come back and beat them 3 straight games, a 73-win team, and I make the illogical but fun leap that if the Cavaliers can beat them, come back 3-1 on the Golden State Warriors without Durant, I believe the Bulls can beat them 4 out of 7 games with Durant. I think Durant is a big plug-in and a big difference maker. But is it a big difference maker that scoops over the Chicago Bulls? I don't know. Ask me again
But
tomorrow.
I think that's because Durant. I mean, I thought you were talking about the 72-win team before the
73-win
year
team. Yeah.
before, 73-win team before Durant. I didn't know it was the one with Durant.
No, that was
Um,
I was talking about that.
okay. Okay,
And I made
yeah.
the leap. If they can do that
oh, you
without
made the
Durant,
leap, yeah. With Durant, without Durant, I think it would be a really close. But with Durant, I mean, you'd have Pippen on Durant, but then you'd have Steve Kerr eventually on Steph Curry, or somebody's going to be not on Klay Thompson, Steph Curry.
yeah, it's just too many.
It's just like,
Yeah.
so I don't even know. Like that's just tough, man. Because
I just think they would
LeBron
play
can still
man.
put up a good fight though.
Yeah, I just think they would play man. I just think they would play man, and they wouldn't allow someone to catch and shoot. Like Curry can catch and shoot as soon as he crosses half court. As soon as his left foot goes past half court, and you give him the space, like, oh, he could have that shot if he wants it. I don't see Phil Jackson preparing that way. I see someone, and he might use subs out of the wazoo. Steve Kerr sit down for a few plays. I'm at this guy in Curry's face from whether he has the ball or not, just in his face. So, and I think that's why. Do you remember the game, the Cavaliers, when what's his name held on to the ball at the end because he thought they were up instead of the game being tied? What was his name?
Oh, Jr. Man.
Yeah.
Then Jr. Smith.
Yes. Like.
Oh man,
That kind of game,
man.
LeBron made manageable. That game one, they made manageable, and I do see the Bulls doing a little bit more. Lastly, before we leave the Bulls, and before we go, anything you want to say about this Last Dance thing? Before we go to the next subject.
No, I just thought it was great, man. I mean, I want to probably rewatch it from top to bottom because I kind of watch it pretty spotty, like there and back. But I mean, I really like the Kraus thing. I really didn't, not that I didn't know that much about it, but I didn't know how deep it went from the very beginning. Like he got there and started to try to change things, which is crazy.
I think me watching the series lastly because everybody uses this as proof. Oh, see, Jordan's the GOAT, not LeBron. Jordan's the GOAT, not LeBron. And most of the people do agree that Jordan's the GOAT, but I don't like. It's disingenuous to make everything about LeBron every time they talk about Jordan's greatness. Just leave the guy alone. He's still an active player. He's still got probably like 3 more years left because of his physical condition. But watching Jordan's nature off the court and watching the tough love, almost hazing in how he motivated his players to play and how he invented vendettas in his head as a challenge, almost Ronda Rousey style. I call him Rousey and I call LeBron Amanda Nunez. Not at level, but as far as mental approach. And the more I saw this series, the more I appreciated LeBron. I wanted to be more like LeBron instead of like Mike. LeBron is an ambassador to the sport, on and off the court. The man always tries to do the right thing. There's some battles he got to sit out. The whole China thing, he sat out. Whatever. He's not a politician. Everybody's like, oh, you don't get to pick where you get to sit out or not. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You're not a politician. You do get to pick. So the more I watch this, the more I appreciated the kind of human being LeBron is and how he galvanized people around him through a different way. And because everybody in our day, the way I grew up, and you're not my age, Rob, but you're old school like that. People are like, if you can't take this, you're not ready to win a championship. And that's how we grew up. Dude, that's how you grew up somehow. You're misplaced in time right now. Because that's how you are. I've seen you coach, Rob. You about that tough love. So LeBron showed that there are ways to win and not be like that. And I'm not saying everyone should be like that. Because if Jordan was like that, he wouldn't have won. He wouldn't have won if he was like that. He wouldn't have won.
It's true. It's true.
My success as a volleyball player, I probably wouldn't either. I was a mean cuss, but I was a mean cuss with everybody. I didn't pick my spots. I was just barking at everybody. But LeBron showed there are other ways to win, and we're not even going to talk about his off the court thing. This man's philanthropy is amazing. Okay, so and that's all I wanted to say about Last Dance, and I think we're shutting the door on the NBA and basketball right now as we move on
For
to
sure.
our next subject. Rob, the
Absolutely.
only reason why I'm bringing up the New York Giants is because my man Baker turned himself in for alleged armed assault or armed robbery along with Dunbar from Seattle. These guys cannot stay out of trouble. Like John Jones said, this is the only time in your life where sitting on the couch and vegging and watching movies and playing video games is a good thing. It is a good thing. And between him and between who's the other guy? Bill's defensive tackle Ed Oliver just got arrested in
Oh my
Houston for
gosh,
DUI.
man! No, I
Just
heard some of
just
those
people
things.
just getting in trouble. Stay out of trouble. So because I'm in a New York state of mind, because I'm wearing the wrong shirt, but I got the right purpose. Rob, we're going to have a little fun because we like doing these top fives. We all about them
That's
top
right.
fives. Rob, starting with you. 5544332211. Who are your top five New York Giants of all time? Start with
That's
number
right.
five. You go first.
All right. I mean, my number five is, I think it's a little bit more nostalgic probably for me, but I have to go with an Amani Toomer. I feel like he was like the most consistent and, around my time, but it was like really when the wide receiver was becoming something. And he was just the most consistent. He was always around. He was deep. He was a deep threat. He was a slot guy. He was just like the man, and then he stayed there for a long time. And like just a money tumor. He was a punt return, kick return. He just like did everything.
Jesus.
So like he just like, I think that's more of a nostalgic number five of all time because, I mean, he put up the numbers probably in longevity, but man, I don't know if he might not be there with some old school
Boy,
fellas. But,
God damn, that's a good pick. Damn, you
right,
showing your
man.
true colors, man. You have wisdom beyond your years. Rob, high fives. Gotcha. My five, sentimental pick because every time I think about the Giants, it's the same way Chicago Bears fans think about their team and the Pittsburgh Steelers think about their team. It's about defense. Defense. I give
There
you
you go.
Justin Tuck. Justin
Okay.
Tuck won that first Super Bowl
I
with
like Justin.
Strahan, Eli Manning, and whatever. And then when it was time to win a second one, he says, I got a ring. You ain't got one. I got a ring. He ain't got one. But I promise you, let's play football. We all got to have us a ring.
We gonna get a
Justin
ring.
Tuck. A great on the court, on the field leader, a great locker room leader. Off the field, his philanthropy is well known, particularly with the children. The man is amazing with the children. Just this big, muscular dude. Just this really nice guy whose mean streak was only in between plays. Because in between the whistles, he wasn't a mean dude. He's just like, good hit, boy. Hey, some people are still snarling after the play. That man played football the right way. Ask him what he's won, Rob. He's won him a Super Bowl ring. Justin Tuck. Who's my number four, Rob? Glad you asked. I'll go
Yeah,
first
yeah.
on this one. Rob, I got to go with Eli Manning. Is he a man that threw a lot of touchdowns? Yeah. Is he also a guy that threw a lot of interceptions? Yes. But you know who else threw a lot of touchdowns and interceptions that never gets vilified the way Eli Manning gets vilified for it? Brett Favre. That man was a touchdown and interception throwing machine. And the only reason he doesn't carry the same criticism and weight is because his personality is likable. Brett Favre, the three-time NFL MVP, didn't even get a Super Bowl MVP. Eli Manning has two Super Bowls MVPs against a team that was undefeated and a team that was expected to win. And we're not even going to fulfill my complete obligation on his path to both of those Super Bowls. Because if you did the numbers, Nate Silver did stats on who's the clutchest quarterback in playoff situations. And the numbers came up Eli Manning. So then they thought the algorithm was messed up. Eli Manning, get out of here. So they worked on a different algorithm that was a higher standard. And guess what? Eli Manning came out again. Eli Manning threw a lot of interceptions. Eli Manning only made the playoffs, I think, 6 times in his 14-year career. But we're Giants fans, and Rob, if I told you that your team would suck for 14 years, but somewhere in those 14 years you get a Super Bowl, and I'd ask you, will you take it? I say for me, yes. What say you, Rob? What's your number 4?
My number 4 is, again, maybe it's sentimental, but I thought he was probably one of the best running backs we've ever had until, Saquon Barkley right now. So I was going to go with number 4, Tiki Barber, because, again, heart and soul of the Giants, for a long time, and he might not have won a ring. He literally left the year right before they got,
Isn't that amazing? Toomer and Strahan decided to stay. Toomer and Strahan stayed.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Those are my boys, but
that is my team.
So yeah, Tiki, man, Tiki just left. Still talking nonsense. Like, I don't think he's the smartest football player in the bunch, but I thought he was a great, Giant.
Would you say Tiki was the most complete running back the Giants had? Because the man catches, passes. Remember, talk about returning punts too.
Right. And he wasn't the fastest guy. He just had that that acceleration, man. Yeah, he was
Watch
quick
me jump off the
and
screen.
He was fast. Yeah, he just wasn't like the, that long distance speed, But great player. I really loved watching him play, and thankfully I get to talk about my number 3 next because it's my only quarterback. But
Rob, who's number 3?
It should be. I mean, maybe it should be Eli, but for me, I was going to put down Phil Simms because a little bit before my time, and he's always been known as that number 1 guy, the number 1 quarterback in Giants history. And maybe Eli took him over. I don't necessarily know, and I think Phil won a championship of his own, so he's right in the mix. But
yes, he did.
It's still Eli is MVP. He has the greatest play in Giants history probably, and he has, he's got that Super Bowl win against the Patriots. It was everybody, but he was a quarterback that led it. He had that Tyree catch in the middle, and then he had the Plaxico after. And honestly,
did you mention Eli yet? Is Phil Simms your 3? Is that what you're saying right now?
Phil Simms is my 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Phil Simms. I'm just trying to defend that. I understand that Eli is probably the best quarterback in Giants history now. Because if you really did watch those games, he did have a bunch of 6-11 seasons. He had a couple tough years. But when he was good, when they needed him, he was amazing down the stretch. He put points on the board when they absolutely needed it. And it wasn't he's the best guy. It's just it's just going to happen. I don't know what it was. It was just going to happen. It was just a special thing for maybe 6 or 7 years. And he knew it. The Giants knew it. And there was no talk of quarterback, moving the quarterback and this and that. It was just get a D-line, get this guy some weapons, and let's go win a championship. So that was pretty cool.
Rob.
That was pretty cool.
Rob McLean. My number 3 pick is Phil Simms. Look. Bill Parcells is the head coach when they won 2 chips, okay? It ain't easy playing for that guy. It ain't easy having Tom Coughlin as your wide receivers coach, making sure you got some communication with the quarterback. It ain't easy for Bill Parcells to tell you to sit the F down, and then when you try to stand up, you try to bow up to him. He bows up back to you, and then you just sit down. It's hard for someone as competitive and as Phil Simms to bow to puppy dog to the big dog and still find a way to perform out there. Because some people, that gets them out of their game, and maybe just Bill Parcells is pushing the right buttons. He got the most out of Phil Simms, and ask him what they won, Rob. Dude, got a Super Bowl victory over the Denver Broncos, 39-20. But moreover, he got Super Bowl MVP. He was 23 of 25. And that Super Bowl victory. That is all we need to know about Phil Simms. Rob, me and you could throw a ball back and forth 25 times. And maybe we drop 2 of them. Maybe we drop more than 2. You and me. No shoulder pads. No helmets. Nobody ready to ding you in the head if you catch it. This man was 23 of 25. That is an attribute to very, very good receivers like Stephon, the touchdown maker Baker, Mark Ingram. Let's not forget him, the real Mark Ingram. That was a wide receiver. Mark Bavaro, tight end. Howard Cross, tight end. Good catching running backs. David Meggett, O.J. Anderson. See, we're bringing it back now. So,
there we go. There we go.
But Phil Simms, for that year alone, deserves to be in this top 5, and he goes number 3 for me because he got hurt at the end of the season. People forget the Giants won 12 or 13 games. Their second run of the Super Bowl that Jeff Hostetler won for them. Phil Simms, they won 12 games under him. The number 2 seed.
Okay.
It's my number 3 seed. So Rob, my number 2. Now I gotta go first.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
That means I get the number 1.
yes, you did. Did you do your number 2 yet? You didn't do your number 2 yet.
No, you do 2 and 1 together.
All right, so check it out. See this smile? Ain't no gap in these teeth, right? But my man got a big one. And listen, he's so lovable. He made the gap in his tooth a trademark. He made it his signature. He made it a quality. And you're like, that is Strahan. Michael Strahan, league leader in sacks, sacked Brett Favre to break the record. Brett Favre he kind of more fell down and said, "Here, take the sack, buddy." And everybody thought Brett Favre gave him the sack, but no, Brett Favre just preferred not to get hit. He just gave up the goods a little bit easier than some other people. Michael Strahan followed the great Lawrence Taylor. A lot of big shoes to fill as a linebacker or as a front four, and he did so. Got to the Super Bowl, lost to the Ravens. Got back to the Super Bowl, came out of retirement, and thank God this man is more revered and more remembered because that Super Bowl ring gets you your host shot on the morning show.
That's the truth.
Michael Strahan, my favorite line, and I'm going to give you the floor in a minute, was when Tom Brady threw to Randy Moss to put the Patriots up 14-10. Michael Strahan goes to his sideline and says, 17-14. Say it with me. 17-14, believe it, and we'll be Super Bowl champions. I don't know how they play if he doesn't say that. Because Tom Brady, people should remember Tom Brady had 1:15 left after the Giants scored. And Brady could, Brady can go and tie the game with a field goal. I mean, the guy can do that. But so his
That's
defense.
what everybody was saying.
Yeah, Alford, Tuck, man, pressure, sacked him. And make mine number 2, make mine Strahan. Floor's yours.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I mean, you stole my pick. I actually almost forgot him, to be honest.
I am an improv. I am an improv.
Yeah, I just got to be honest. And, I had to be like, I was like, I know I'm forgetting somebody. And then another person, just because you picked my number 2, we picked the same number 2 because I think it's the right number 2. I think Jeremy Shockey should probably also be on this list. I mean, I feel like if he was on the Giants for a little longer, it would be a definite. He's in my top 10 probably. But yeah, Jeremy Shockey's right up there too. But yeah, Michael Strahan, man. I mean, he was just a heart and soul, like Tiki Barber right before. I think they were like, right there together. And then Tiki kind of bowed.
What a bunch of great role models, dude.
Exactly. They really, I mean, look at Michael on the Good Morning America. It's crazy. Like he's still that same dude. He was that dude when he was on the field bashing heads with other guys. Like that's how crazy that is, man. And that's why he was beloved, because he was this charismatic, personality and, the most misogynistic, hyper masculine kind of society area kind of mindset. So great to see, kept an open mind and fantastic player. And I think it's crazy how great he did in his last season, that it almost made him just like, Warren Sapp or some of the other great defensive linemen that ended their career maybe on a high, or in the best time of their career,
yep.
Physically. And, Strahan had a couple more years for sure, but he ended it on a Super Bowl ring, and he had maybe not that many productive years, maybe 2 or 3 years before, but that year, man, oof.
The Giants should thank him. Do they win the Super Bowl that year without Strahan? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Not even close. I mean, because it was the D line. Nobody knew Justin Tuck. Nobody knew
Alford.
O.C. Umenyiora.
Yeah.
Nobody knew.
Akinoa.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Aquinrado. No,
Stop it.
Trying to think about.
Matthias Akinoa, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. it's just crazy, man. Like all these no-name guys, and then Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, no
It's
doubt,
crazy.
dude. Yeah, hey,
All right,
listen,
yeah. So
you hold the Patriots to 14 points. Yeah, you just
yeah,
yep, it's the defense.
you working.
Who's
With
number
Randy
one?
Moss.
Who's number one? I might not
Um,
even. Maybe you just take us both home with number
every
one.
everybody knows who number one is. If you don't know who number one is, then you probably not a very good football fan, honestly.
Never mind,
You know, lo-
Giants.
yeah, because some people don't even know that Lawrence Taylor was on the Giants. Some people just know Lawrence Taylor. You know what I mean? That's okay. That's Lawrence Taylor, linebacker. I get it. But it's like sometimes I know of the player, maybe not the team they play on. Maybe like I don't know what professional team Pele played on. But I know Pele played for Brazil or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? So in a sense, I get it. But yeah, Lawrence Taylor played for the Giants. Greatest pick the Giants ever had. Greatest player from the second he stepped on the field until the second that he left the field that the Giants ever had. Redefined the game. Probably, if he wasn't as good as he was in the beginning, probably would have been even better at the end because he affected the league so drastically that the league was forced to change. It wasn't over a period of time. It was like immediately. Everybody drafted players to be exactly like Lawrence Taylor, and everybody drafted players to stop players like Lawrence Taylor. That was it for a long time.
Yeah.
And so that's just, I mean, he's one of the greatest players in NFL history, let alone Giants history. Like he's the greatest linebacker of all time,
He.
easily, and that's known. That's a known fact. That's not
Period.
even like me saying it.
That's
Yeah,
undisputable. That's undisputable.
yeah,
Anybody? I don't even think I'm interested in talking about football with anyone that even puts anyone in the same sentence. There are some honorable mentions, but
sure.
all of those honorable mentions are their measuring stick in which they compare themselves is Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence
Right.
Taylor is the measuring stick in which all they're compared. They're not the measuring stick. So if they're honorable mentions, in the classic sense of the word, that's all they are. They're not the best linebacker. He's possibly a top three best football player of all time
Football
in any
player.
position. Nobody Nobody geared their game around. You gear your game around how you're going to stop this wide receiver. You gear your around how they're going to, stop this running back in their blocking schemes. You gear around, Darrell Revis, so he has one side of the field. Nobody gears their whole freaking offense and defense and special teams about what this man's going to do and the amount of time he's going to do it. Left tackle has big contracts. Left tackle would
Because
not
of that
have
man.
big money contracts if it wasn't for Lawrence Taylor. That man put Joe Theismann out. He's concussed and laid out Joe Montana multiple times. He's retired more people than Social Security. We're talking about Lawrence Taylor. The second most paid player post Lawrence Taylor was the left tackle. We know people like Jumbo Elliott and Peters from Philadelphia because of Lawrence Taylor.
Yep.
And I'm going to stop right there because I ain't even trying to tidal wave over all of the eloquent and beautiful points that you made about arguably the top 5 best player in the history of professional football. Never mind linebacker Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, greatness.
Got my football on thanks to you. Yeah, leave it to a couple of New Yorkers to bring it back for y'all. You're welcome.
There you go.
All right, so now we approach a little bit more of a delicate scene, but for the people who watch this show, they know Sports Debate Tuesday is an attachment from a podcast I have called The Option. And The Option predicates its foundation on sports, which we're doing, current events, entertainment, and health and wellness. And if I didn't talk about this, because right now it's a social pulse, I'd be remiss as a podcaster. Never mind, and because it involves sports, particularly our sports, my wheelhouse, and this absolute stud who's joined me on the show. Here goes. On the volleyball scene, there's been some pushback regarding the partnership of 2 very, very prominent clubs. One is called Sports Performance Volleyball Club, and the other is not just a club. Mizuno's a volleyball club, but Mizuno is a company and a brand in which sells and brings almost all of its business exclusively to volleyball. All right, their volleyballs kind of suck, but their sneakers rock, their t-shirts, their shorts. Mizuno has been them. Asics is basically what Nike is to basketball. So, with that being said, there's been some pushback because now there's a new partnership with Sports Performance Volleyball Club and Mizuno. Many volleyball players, former volleyball players, current coaches, retired coaches, and parents have threatened to boycott Mizuno because of this partnership, due to the long-standing and long-storied historical allegations of sexual assault and rape of minors by the leader of the Sports Performance Volleyball Club, Richard Butler. So, Rob, my question is, does this pushback have legs, or is this something that's just going to come and go? And since I'm bringing it up, would you like to go first? Or you get the right to choose for me to go first or you? Because I know I'll push this on you last minute. We're doing a first take on
No,
this.
you good. Yeah, you can finish off because you probably got a lot more, factual information to
I did a little
to
homework.
bring to the yeah. For me, I think it's going to be a little bit of both. Unfortunately, like you see with this whole Larry Nassar thing. I mean, Larry Nassar went away, but what happened with Michigan State? Um, I mean, it's very sad that we don't have the type of structure in place to police coaches. Because as a coach myself, like I don't just of indoor, let's say of indoor volleyball, like there are so many coaches that don't have like a certain aspect of growing a kid. They have the aspect of making the best volleyball player, which is their job. But
X's and O's, yeah.
yeah, but there's no like moral standard, I should say, right? There's no like how low would I go, like what would I sacrifice to win these games. There's none of that standardizing among clubs and of teams. It's just like Wild West out there, like do what you got to do. So I'm not saying that people invite this bad things, but when you leave things just wide open to interpretation and you don't, you know, keep at least a little bit of a leash, um, bad things tend to happen. I mean, gymnastics has been some of the least policed and just widest. Like send your kids to this camp and they'll come back 6 months later and just parents come all the time, but their kids are always in a situation where they can be manipulated. And what I'm trying to say is it's just unfortunate where I think that, especially looking at how much time you can spend with your own kids and sacrificing a little bit more of work and travel and seeing if you can work from home as opposed to working. I mean, just that travel there and back to work is the 6 hours you can spend with the kid instead of paying for them to go to a place if you even have the money to pay for it. So it's like there we just have to rethink how we're approaching putting kids into professional atmospheres, because that's what it is nowadays. Junior sports is a
Yeah.
professional
I
atmosphere
mean, it's
with a
called
business
Amateur
that makes
Athletic
sport.
Union, but we know it's really it's a professional setting. I agree.
It's a professional setting, and these coaches can teach kids professional things, but that's an adult that's an adult that's like an adult course. You don't have to teach them that. And once you start muddling that line, there's a lot of things that people think kids should know, and maybe it's not a mainstream ideal. So that's what I'm saying. It's just a very thin line that you can break so easily, and I don't think we're doing the right things structurally to not even police it, just to make people feel safe that they can report it if it happens, right? Like there's no person you can call. There's no number where you're like, hey, anybody in this gym, if you ever have anything you need to say to somebody that's not your family and you need help and just information or anything, call this number. You know what I mean? So I think if we hear that there's any type of allegations, boom, right away. This has got to be wide sweeping, more than safe sport, right? Just more than safe sport. So.
Yep.
it's sad to hear, but it's what the world, what happens in the world. It's very unfortunate, but the only way to battle that is to step up and see it for what it is, which is wrong, and you have to step up and talk about it. If you don't, that's where it gains strength.
Yeah.
So I applaud the people that stood up for their freedoms, their mental freedom of not being in trauma anymore, and hopefully their process to reheal is a lot less, a lot more painless than the way they got their trauma.
Yeah. So, Rob, bringing people up to speed on who Richard Butler is. Richard Butler is the U.S. volleyball coach for sports performance. Basically, the U.S. Juniors team. He has involvement with the adults and the junior national team. So basically, from the '80s all the way up to this point, he has been the influential person as far as girls getting scholarships, and really in a very, I don't like to use the word Epstein way or Harvey Weinstein way, controls your future as far as doing thing his way. He has a vision for you, and if you listen to him, you're gonna go far. And before I say what I got to say, the man he maintains his innocence to these allegations, even though the innocence his claim is just ridiculous. First, he said sex never happened, and then he walks back his comments. It says he denies sex ever happened, but then he said it did happen, but 3 of the girls were consensual because they were 18 years old. Which to you and me is still inexcusable because you're still in a position of power where you control. Like if I'm your boss, if I'm someone's boss, right? Or like if someone's 23 and I'm 50 this year, if I'm your boss, you're an adult. You're consenting, but not really. And we just talked about Weinstein. They're consenting adults, but not really. It's on its best legs, it's highly inappropriate, and on its worst legs, it's probably rape. Dude, it's probably rape.
But
So
why,
far,
like,
so far,
why?
I did research this afternoon, and I only know about 6 cases. 6. There's more. I'm only talking about 6 people I know about that I did some reading up and research. Please, Rob. Sorry.
But no, I gotta say, like, statute of limitations is almost a way to, like, it has to be if you have something done to you before age 21 or age 30, statute of limitations should not, or there's got to be like a way to traverse that, because it shouldn't be because you waited too long to report a certain crime that, I feel like in a place where you have emotional trauma, there should totally be a way to be able to circumvent that, because if it's from the day of the event that it happened to what, 6 years or 10 years or 20 years past that time, uh, you know, why does it matter how long it takes if it's a crime? I mean,
Yeah.
I get that you can't just pull it up from anywhere, but they have legitimate evidence, and the reason why they didn't do it over a certain amount of time, like I'm not saying 50 years, but
Yeah.
20 years later, you're like, hey, this is what happened. Like, try them. Maybe at least have
There
like a
has to be an
public
extension.
hearing.
There has to
Yeah,
be an
there has to,
extension.
because if someone is a sexual offender and they're not on the sexual offenders list, then what is the list even really? Because it's not.
Or if there's no
It's not to.
conviction, then he's not going to be on the list. There was no conviction
Of course,
because,
of
like you
course,
said, because of
of
what you're originally
course.
talking about. You're talking about statute of limitations.
Yeah,
Yep.
but that's the only reason. And so what I'm saying is, if he actually did it, if he didn't, okay. But if he did, that's the list is for the people that do those things. And I'm not even hating against those people in a sense. Like I'm never saying anybody should do it, but that's those people's choices. Like, there's a lot of terrible things in this world, and people choose to do those things. So that's their thing. But
You brought up
man,
something very important though in the beginning of this. That before I drive us both too far, because I do that sometimes, and I'm sorry. I apologize. In the beginning, you were talking about if people know stuff, and if other coaches like you and me should encourage people to step up and talk to us. And the reason why I don't think it happened with this guy, because his personality, this is if he did it, his personality and his power and the power he wields not just controls other players, it controls people that are around him. So, first of all, I don't even think like 16-year-old girls. That means a lot of them are virgins, and a lot of them are dumb. They're gullible. They don't know what the hell's. They don't even know what happened until after it happened. And you don't see 16-year-olds file sexual assault or rape charges. You just don't hear stories of that. You hear women that knew about it. So there has to be some kind of extension of the statute of limitations because. And I did studies on this, and I did my own research on this. Psychologically, it messes up your head. All of a sudden, you get raped when you're 16. All of a sudden, you're failing science class. And in someone's mind, what does one thing happen to do with the other? As far as someone's psychological growth, probably nothing, but probably everything. Probably everything, Rob. This man maintains his innocence, and he passed 5 polygraph tests. But polygraph tests, the reason why they're not admissible, because if somebody's sick, they don't believe that they sexually assault someone, it's not going to come up on a polygraph test. Mike Tyson, still alleges, says he didn't rape that girl. And it's either one or two things. Either he did and doesn't believe he did, or he's innocent. So the reason why I'm hawing about this is because if you have 6 cases that we know of, it's important to not just have it in the news for one cycle and because our sport's not that important or because those kids aren't that important, they just let it go. They're just like, okay, we took it as far as we could go. Oh man, this guy's is suing us now because for slander and this and that. So now this guy's aggressively coming after people, which I think innocent people do. Like if I got accused of rape, I'm coming after you until you apologize publicly because of the serious charge it is,
ramifications.
Right? Rob, we live in a society where you're guilty until proven innocent. But what is the one charge you are not guilty until proven innocent? Rape. Rape in the court of public opinion, which somehow seeps into the court and taints juries. You have to find a way to prove you didn't do it, which is impossible. Okay, so it is serious on both ends. It is serious to accuse someone because you ruin their reputation one way. If they didn't do it. And if they're found not guilty, people still look at him like, oh, that was the guy that was in court for whatever. And he didn't, and you ruin it for people who are brave enough to come forward. I just watched the video. This woman is 50 this year and her husband tried to touch her and she still jumps. It messed up her head now. And Mizuno, the reason why I even brought this up, Mizuno separated themselves from this guy in 2017 and they're now back with him in 2020. So if you separated yourself, what the hell happened between 2017 and 2020 to say, oh, I changed my mind? If you're gone from that dude, you stay gone. And now I'm pent up a little bit because 6 cases that we know of. I don't have any evidence because you can't prove you didn't do it or prove you didn't. It's his word against hers. I get that. But my sniff test tells me something smells rotten in the state of California and in the state of Illinois. This will not be ignored. If he didn't do it, that's fine. If he did do it, his behind should be in jail. But something we should not do, Rob McLean, is just have this go through one news cycle. This has got to be addressed sooner than later.
No, right now. I mean, hopefully, people understand. I mean, the article literally just came out, I think, today or yesterday. But
I'd love to have him on the show. I would love to have that guy on the show. I would love to see his side of the story. I would love to hear what he got to say because his wife is like, oh, you guys out there, you don't have the facts and you're doing this. And maybe she's right.
Well, she said apparently she's implicated. So, of course, she's got something to say, too. So.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll have to see about that. Yeah, hit him up. See if we can get him on the show, Jay.
Someone. But for now, tell you the truth, until my nose starts smelling chicken parmesan upstairs, which is cooking instead of this shit. And I just said shit. There go my sponsors. Until my sniff test stops smelling this, I'm not doing Mizuno no more, dude. I'm not doing Mizuno no more. I'm with Jason Olive, who's an actor, a former volleyball player, won the first right to likeness lawsuit. A supermodel, super person brought this to my attention. And I'm sorry, I'm yelling. I'm all, you like, damn, Jay, you're gonna have a stroke. Penta, I'm wound up a little bit about this because this is a serious thing. This is because they're gonna be a lot of guys who didn't do it that are gonna have to be drugged through the run because of people who did. I want him on the show. We right now we're averaging. We went from 3,000 views on our show to 15, and now recently we're averaging 21,000 views on our show. Right now we're up to 19.5 last episode. 25,000 is our record.
Hey, that's petition power right there.
Yes, it is. Rob Sparrow, by the way, on my podcast, 54,000. He shattered through our record with a tank, dude. So let's finish off this way. Try to do a little happy note thing. How? On this day, which is, we're going to do Monday and Tuesday. On this day, Randy Johnson threw a perfect game against the Atlanta Braves in 2004 in the 2-0 victory. Randy Johnson, I believe, was still maybe a Diamondback back then? I don't know. On this day, Rob, 1935, the NFL adopts the annual college draft to start in 1936. No good idea, bad idea today. But I want to finish. We have like finishing comments. We have a shout out to this person, shout out to that person. I would like to take this time to acknowledge the death of former Yankee general manager Bob Watson. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Watson passed away at the age of 74 over the weekend. Bob Watson was the first African-American general manager to help or participate in the win of a Major League Baseball World Series, which was 1996. So he won with the Yankees. Later on became the vice president of discipline and rules, and good luck with that job. Nobody even wants that. Certainly not your first African-American. Shout out to him. May he rest in peace.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't have much shout outs. Just
shout out to Miranda. Where's she at?
Shout out to Miranda.
Go.
Yeah.
Yo, she keeping the meals hot, boy. What you saying?
Yeah, she's doing her best. She's definitely doing her best.
Is she still working out? Is she quarantining?
Yeah, I mean, well, she's working a lot, so she's just, trying to keep up. And I mean, she works a lot in the morning, so then during the day she just,
No doubt.
tries to rest and get ready for the next.
Yeah, so listen, God bless that woman. God bless that woman. God bless you. And God bless everybody else out there who's listening to this episode. This is episode 17, a Sports Debate Tuesday podcast. For my man, Rob, keep it McLean. I'm Jason DeBeas. I love you to pieces. Let's do this closing, all right? Yeah. See you, brother. Check out the Option Podcast on OptionDB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.